We are live, orange and blue today. Cecil Lammy, Andrew Mason, post Super Bowl 59, and oh my goodness, what a game we saw on Sunday. Now, it's not great, Bob. It wasn't a great game, but it was a great game, if you know what I mean. Oh man, now Super Bowl done, off-season here, and just how close are the Broncos to the Chiefs in 2025? Something to discuss today on the program. Got Andrew Mason checking in from the airport, and I'm checking in from the mountains of Colorado. Welcome in, Andrew Mason, Cecil Lammy, orange and blue today. How close are the Broncos to the Chiefs? I started out Dover and Cecil this morning with this statement, and I will start orange and blue today with this statement as well, and then we'll hear from Andrew Mason in just a little bit. The window is open. The window is open. If you look at what the Denver Broncos need to do and what's available this offseason, the window is open. If you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and how they were exposed in the Super Bowl, the window is open. If you look at Bo Nix and what he was able to do as a rookie without much help around him, the window is open. If you look at Sean Payton and his history in this league and great offensive football mind, the window is open. So say it with me here, everybody, on Orange and Blue today. Guess what the window is? The window is open. So that's the mantra of this entire offseason, and it's something that we need to monitor as the Broncos progress through the offseason. Are they making the right decisions? Is it Zach Bonnet free agency? Is it Colston Loveland in the first round? Where's Devin Neal in the third round? Can you get Ashton Jeanty in the first round? Is that possible? Or did the Saquon Barkley effect, much like the Brock Bowers effect, is going to get Tyler Warren taken in the top 10? Does the Saquon Barkley effect make Ashton Jeanty a top 10 selection? Now, I think it's a top 10 talent in this draft, no question, no doubt. But there was an opportunity for him to slide to 12-ish and maybe even past 12 and maybe to the Denver Broncos around 20. I don't think he falls straight up to 20, but maybe around that, where moving up wouldn't cost you very much, fourth-round pick, something like that. So how close is this team to the Kansas City Chiefs? Well, my partner in crime, Andrew Mason, had some thoughts on that, and here's what Mace had to say.
Well, thanks, Season. The question I've got on my mind is how close the Broncos are to the Chiefs. It's something that I asked a few people last week, something that I was thinking about in the wake of Super Bowl 59. And first of all, let's play the answer that I got from Peter Schrager of Fox Sports last week, because his answer, I've got to say I disagree with, even though he's somebody kind of in the know with Sean Payton. I think he's got a little bit more distance than I would have. Here's Peter Schrager explaining how close he feels the Broncos are.
Yeah, they're not there yet.
Yeah.
They're not. I picked the Broncos to go to the playoffs before this season, and it wasn't because of my trust in Bo Nix. It wasn't because I thought that you're going to have this great season from Surtain. I picked him because I trust Sean Payton, and he'll get that thing going. But it is a huge gap. It's a huge gap, and that Week 18 game doesn't really count. Obviously, it was Chris Oladokun and Carson Wentz, but when you become a team that can take them in Arrowhead to that point where it takes a blocked field goal, a freak blocked field goal by Leo Chenal, you could compete with them. I don't think they're a year away. I think they're probably 2 years away, but Sean's got them going in the right direction, and if you have been following that division for 10 years, I think Broncos fans would sign up for that.
I mean, he sort of says, okay, they're 2 years away, but offers the reminder that they were a blocked field goal away from winning at Arrowhead. Now, being in the same division can kind of create parity that comes from knowing your opponent really well. Familiarity usually brings disparate teams closer together, which frankly makes the Broncos' long losing streak to the Chiefs from November of 2015 through October of 2023 all the more agonizing, because they did know them well and they still couldn't find ways to break through, although there were plenty of close games. I mean, you think back to the wretched 2022 team that went 5-12 and got Nathaniel Hackett fired after 15 games of that season. But not long before Hackett got sacked, the Broncos came roaring back and had a chance to win after falling behind against Kansas City there in December before fading as Brett Rippon came in the game. So you kind of have to separate the matchup from overall how close you are. But I don't think the Broncos are 2 years away. I mean, let's start with this. Let's start with yesterday with Kansas City and what we saw from them against Philadelphia. There's a lot that the Broncos, I think, already have the ability to replicate with some depth additions. I'll get into that in a little bit. They've already figured out how to contain Kansas City's offense. Let's just be clear here. Not counting that season-ending game, I don't think that counts for anything except being the win that got the Broncos.
Yeah, they're not there yet. Yeah. They're not. I picked the Broncos to go to the...
Yeah. That's what happens when I brush against the keyboard. But anyway, so forget about the season-ending game against the Chiefs. The other three games for the Broncos with Sean Payton and Vance Joseph together have allowed 2 touchdowns to the Chiefs. 2 touchdowns and 14.7 points. So while it's tempting to look and say, okay, well, clearly you've got to do exactly what the Eagles did on defense in order to contain the Chiefs, you can argue that the Broncos, with what they already have, are pretty close, almost right there. So Denver takes a bit of a different path to shutting down the Chiefs than the Eagles did, but it's no less effective in the end sum. What can the Broncos improve? They can get a little bit more depth on the defensive line. They can certainly improve inside linebacker. I think one of the things we'll be talking about as we get into free agency is inside linebacker and where that stacks up in terms of what's on the market, because there are some potentially helpful players, and you may have seen a couple of them out there in Super Bowl 59 on Sunday night. You can get better, but really what allowed Philadelphia to turn that defensive onslaught into a rampage, a rout, was the ability of its offense to complement that and take advantage when the opening was created. That's where the Broncos' lack of firepower at the skill positions comes into play. I mean, you're seeing, A.J. Brown make plays, but then you're seeing A.J. Brown at one point draw double coverage short to set up Dallas Goedert left side, open for a 20-yard catch near the sideline. The Eagles have an array of skill position players that are trusted. The Broncos don't have that quality just yet. They have some pieces, but they're not there, and that's why, for me, it comes back to the skill spots, and it comes back to what Sean Payton was saying last week, looking for that joker, running back and tight end. They seem to think they can find the answers internally from what they have at wide receiver, but do you consider a Cooper Kupp? Do you consider a Deebo Samuel? There's actually some comments out there, and you can read them on denversports.com. Will Pearson wrote about him, where Deebo is talking about how much he likes the Broncos. The question being like, okay, what does Deebo have now? Because with Deebo Samuel and Cooper Kupp, you've got players with pretty significant cap numbers. You might be able to get either of them down in a trade, perhaps. But significant cap numbers. Cooper Kupp has injury concerns. Deebo Samuel, his production has been off the last couple of years. Is that really the way to go? Or is the better way for the Broncos to focus on the draft for finding skill position upgrades, knowing it's a year where you might be able to find those joker types at running back and tight end, and then use what you have resource-wise to go and target inside linebacker, maybe add a defensive lineman? That might be the play here, looking at where the offseason stacks up. Free agency to upgrade the defense, to improve the spine, which appeared to be lacking, especially down the stretch, and then the draft, which is a target-rich environment for skill position players. I mean, shoot, You could have Deebo Samuel, but if we want to revisit wide receiver and you want somebody who could do some of the Deebo things, you could have Luther Burden out of Mizzou potentially right there. So that, I think, is what the Broncos, when they sit down the next couple of weeks, as they start kind of strategizing things. They obviously they haven't set their draft board yet, but it's important as they go into the combine and come out of the combine to know what the landscape looks like, to where they can make the most informed decision to say, okay, items A, B, and C we can check off in free agency. Items X, Y, and Z we can check off in the draft. As I look at this class, it looks more like defensively, those are the items you can check off in free agency, especially when you talk about the defensive line, for example. You're not looking for an alpha. You've got Zach Allen up there. You're looking for support for Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, and Malcolm Roach. Inside linebacker, you're probably looking for a dog, and that, I think, is probably where your big expenditure in free agency ought to be, is finding one of those guys at inside linebacker, because Buffalo in particular, but we saw it in other games. We saw it when they went against the Colts, for example. I mean, if Jonathan Taylor doesn't drop the ball as he crosses the goal line, we're talking about second-level failure against Jonathan Taylor, failing to control him, potentially costing the Broncos a playoff spot. So that's where I sort of see the Broncos right now and kind of what we got from the Super Bowl. I look at what Philadelphia did defensively, and while the Broncos maybe not as utterly dominant as the Eagles were in, not allowing the Chiefs to cross midfield until just over 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter, in the broader sample size of multiple games, the Broncos have shown some defensive primacy over Patrick Mahomes and company, and they have done it with Vance Joseph. I mean, actually, you could look back at that Kansas City game at Arrowhead in October of 2023 when the Broncos lost 19-8 but held the Chiefs to 19 points and 1 touchdown, and say that was kind of the beginning of the Broncos defense putting it together after the wreckage of the first month of that season. So those are some of my thoughts. Also, just generally about the Super Bowl and the Chiefs losing. I guess I could say it's kind of nice to wake up for the first time in 2 years and not have the Chiefs be the defending world champions. I don't have the same thing against the Chiefs as probably you do, since y'all are Broncos fans primarily watching this. But some of their fans on social media with whom I've dealt, who I've found to be particularly unpleasant, let's just say I'm not displeased that they're upset because their team lost. They deserve a little bit of crow to eat today. Cease, Broncos country, back to y'all, and I'll have more tomorrow here on Orange and Blue Today. Take it home, my friend.
And there we have Andrew Mason chiming in from an airport near you, or maybe not near you if you're in New Orleans. Anyway, I wholeheartedly agree. Like, the Chiefs lost. This is amazing. It's awesome. And it shows the window is open. The window is open. Rickus Rick says, what's up? Go Broncos. Our time is now. Sharon, I agree with that. The time is now. And I regularly get upset by the morning show on the Fan. I think they do it on purpose, where they're like, oh, a couple years away. Why wait? I think waiting is an excuse. Now, will they have to wait? Is it natural for them or normal for them to go to the Super Bowl in year 2 of Bo Nix? No, but I'm also not going to say that they can't do that and they have to wait and that it's a few years. I think that's just kicking the can in a way, not for hot take purposes, because I think hot takes are stupid, but I think it's a way to kick the can and not be wrong. A lot of people in this industry don't want to be wrong. Hell, I don't want to be wrong. But people will kind of shield their opinions by couching everything and riding the fence and being like, it's okay if it takes some time and it's just the NFL and they got to grow. Like, I'm about going for it. I'm about just going for the Super Bowl and not really worrying about the timeline. We're on a timeline. Our timeline is this. Your timeline is now. As Sharon says in the chat room, it is open and it's time to go. Zachariah says, we're a lot closer than people think, honestly. Very, very true. Very true. A lot closer than people think. And yes, Nate, it is a glorious day in Broncos country. And that's something where now the opportunity is there. Whether or not, has Travis Kelce retired yet? Is he going to retire? Like, okay. Even if he's back, you still see what the Eagles did in being a run-first team. Make sure to stay tuned at 7 right here on our Denver Sports YouTube channel. Doper and Cecil, I like those guys. They'll talk about it. I'll talk about it. It's weird talking about my own show on a show. So anyway, look at Jermaine. Shout out to my boy Mace on the road getting it done for us Broncos fans. We appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate Mace. That is for sure. So talking about the fumbles with Ashton Genty. Why aren't we taking this into consideration? Most teams think they can fix that, Paul. If you ask why we aren't putting it in the equation, then that's my answer. Doesn't mean it can be fixed, but that's what most teams think. Is it a security issue? What kind of fumble? Did it come after contact? Was it unexpected? Some sort of peanut punch? Like all those sorts of things. Edward says, hallelujah. The Chiefs are finally exposed and beaten down. Yeah, it was not a good game. I just wanted a good game because we've regularly had a bunch of bad football this year. And we got more bad football in the Super Bowl. But I'm okay with that because the Chiefs got beat down. There you go. Jorge says must change to a 4-3 base defense. We'll see. We'll see if that's going to happen. Probably not. Probably not. All right. Let me see here. More of your chats here available. We won't be going for Genty. Well, I'll just say this, Alex. There's probably some people around the team that would disagree with that. And I'll leave it at that. Of course, Mason and I are going to be at the Combine in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We'll be at Indianapolis for a week and talking about it. So there you go. There you go. And then we'll find out more information about what the Broncos' intent could be in the first round. A lot of people are saying Colston Loveland. Some are saying defensive tackle or wide receiver. Pot Stoner Degenerate Jason says, what happened to my luscious locks? I still have long hair. I just cut off about 8 inches, I think. Something like that. But my hair's still long on the top. See? There you go. Still have long hair. Just a little bit shorter. So the luscious locks are still there, Jason. And you owe me a Mountain Dew, buddy. Anyway, Chiefs are rattled. Denver needs to make moves to overtake them now. Ryan, I wholeheartedly agree with that. There's no need to wait. There's no need to couch things and be like, it just takes a couple of years. Because in a couple of years, when time's up, you better be ready. So how about accelerate that timeline? Bo Nix is already ahead of his timeline. Why can't you accelerate it? Why can't you just go faster now? Right? So there you go. That is a wrap for today's program. A little shorter version here. Mace on the road. I did 5 hours of radio today. So yeah, I'm tired. So anyway, we appreciate you very much. Thank you very much for watching Orange and Blue today. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And we appreciate you for the great Andrew Mason, who's at Mace Denver on all the socials. I'm at Cecil Lammy. I'm on some of the socials. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.